We're going to continue the alternate future of the world series. And well, as you can see here, they took back land a few episodes ago. For here, we can see the remnants of what happened after the war. This nation didn't lose anything. This nation did lose quite a bit. This nation came into existence. This one, that one, that one. Yes, we got a bunch of nations that came into existence through it. And well, this nation decides it's time to expand. Why did they want to expand? Well, because they were planning on having a massive expansion, but a lot of stuff got into their way, such as the collapse of that nation and its surrender. With the nation quickly setting its sights on into Poland as they cross the border. They managed to make a small offensive, but then they move in over here from the south to seize Crimea as they move in from over in this area. And they move in here to get near the capital. As they move around Kiev, manage to do this, and now they encircle it. And well, then they come out of the south. And well, yeah, eventually they make a full-on front line over here. And then they decide to move in over there. As they move towards Odessa now. Oh wait, they're about to take it. As they encircle it and move down. Manage to take it. As they launch an offensive in southern Poland. A counter-offensive is launched, yielding huge gains across northern Ukraine and a bit in southern. But with them deciding to overrun Russian forces up here, which ends up a big success. So they send more forces in to enter the front over here. And they manage to cut supply lines in this area, leading to fallback, and they also do it here, leading to withdrawals from here, with Kiev finally falling. With them being forced all the way back in their failed to launch a counter-offensive. But in Poland, they managed to launch a nice attack, even crossing into German territory. But Germany doesn't appreciate this and pushes them right back. You might think, how do they plan to take over Germany? Well, it's pretty simple. They plan to continue their offensive, with it getting stronger as German morale weakens and everybody's questioning why they're fighting for Poland, considering they shouldn't have to fight for others. But they were the ones declared war on. Well, quickly they move into Kiev and Warsaw, and they manage to take it as they go through Krakow in the south. I think it's still part of this nation. As a lot falls, and they start crossing into Germany. With these forces retreating to hold back the front. With them having to retreat from here. With an attempt to push them back. They manage to cross into a bit. And they liberate this area in a bit here. But the people, with some anti-war protests across the nation breaking out, with them starting to form a tiny revolution, asking to withdraw from the war. But them thinking this will be an easy rebellion to put down. Well, they didn't realize how hard. And as they had to move forces there, their front starts falling. And they're unable to launch a counter-offensive. That would be noticeable. And well, More people gain behind this, which starts to lead to a bit of a revolution. Which isn't bad yet, but the capital gets taken, with an offensive being launched over here, which manages to move along the capital. Well, quickly they collapse. The capital collapses, with this enraging rebels, leading to a full-on rebellion. And they quickly move into key areas and lands that could be part of France in the future. That never ended up. As the forces here continue advancing, believing they need to take as much as they can, with rebels being inspired across the nation, people against this war to rise up. Well, this is what the front ends up looking like. I'm meeting these fronts up, but with the Russian forces advancing, with them trying to get as much as they can take. And well, over here in the south, they managed to launch an offensive here. These rebels lead to the fall of the nation, with the surrendering nation claiming it wasn't their fault for the loss. So now let's see the peace treaty. Republic. Yes, a republic. But they do have to get rid of a big chunk of land, while gains are made by their opponents. Not opponents, but their enemies. But a few puppets are made, yes. All that eastern area east of pacifist Germany is pretty much gone and stolen. They just want out of the war. Yeah, they didn't get a fair peace treaty, because why would you? If you lose a war, you never get a fair peace treaty. With this nation collapsing, but before anything could happen, they end up being annexed. Yes. By this nation, which shocks everyone. So they try to reclaim land. But they weren't warned about what happened. With them doing it over here to reclaim this land. But what they didn't realize happens is that a flood would happen. Yeah. And the land ends up flooded in a big chunk. It changes the terrain. Yes, that's mountains. I do know that. It also changes the terrain. Yeah, getting creative at this point. But it doesn't bother them making a new lake, because they get territory in the end that they made livable, inconquerable, with a nation forming in the north, declaring itself Greater Iraq. Yeah. This is what the Iraq nation declares its boundaries to be. Yes. Exactly. And we can see unions might be formed, but none. But a treaty is made. The Russian Defense League, basically. Whatever you want to call it. With only one real member. But since that color isn't like the best to use, is unideal, we will let them use this color. And then for their puppets, it's used this color here to make it that. Make it that. Well, it went really well. Very well, as this nation has formed. a new nation has finally formed. Well, to fix the border. Because it didn't end up well. That didn't form. I thought making a pact. And they managed to get Serbia, Romania, Albania, Turkey, and the Egyptian nation to join it. Yes, Greater Egypt. And this Iran nation. And well, they grew a lot. With France planning to take these lands back, but can't yet. So they decide to make a tiny annexation. And well, the pacifist government doesn't do anything about it as they're bankrupt. They can't afford to do anything because of the war. But they do start making a military bigger and stronger. And well, that's pretty much all for today's video. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Wild Mapper out, but not until you subscribe.